All right. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. As James has introduced me, my name is Björn. I'm in the final year of my PhD at ETH Zurich together with Professor Christian Holtz. And today I will talk about our research using the project ARIA glasses, which focuses mostly on seeing inside a person by estimating a person's heart rate, emotion, and personality. So ultimately what we try to achieve is to better understand a human's intention, what Richard also introduced this morning already. Most of you heard that ARIA Gen 2 glasses have now been introduced. And what we were most excited to see was actually the health PPG sensor on the nose. And what this PPG sensor allows to do is to measure a person's heart rate from the nose. And what we were initially so excited about is that Christian already started working on this like 10 years ago in a project Lab Bella, where he attached different PPG sensors all over the glasses and was able to show that we can actually, when we record it from 3 different sites, on the face, that we can not only record blood volume pulse, but also, for example, blood pressure. So we recorded different kind of modalities from PPG sensors on the face. And now why do we think are these physiological signals so important for egocentric applications? On a lot of these large-scale data sets, such as EgoExo40 and Namaria that exist nowadays, quite a lot of these tasks, such as pose estimation and ego-exo relation, they focus on a user's actions and motions and in the environment around the user. So they're mostly independent of a user's state. However, we argue that some of these tasks, such as, for example, proficiency estimation, they're actually influenced by the user's internal state, so the rich inner life of that person, which we kind of have to understand to be able to fully understand and solve these tasks. A person's internal state, which we also call affective state, is a pretty wide expression and includes not only the emotional state of a person, but it also includes their physiological conditions. So if somebody is stressed, for example, or if somebody's in a mode of a focus. So it basically captures how people are feeling in the moment. And this, we argue, is quite important to add. I'll give you an example here. On the left side, you can see a person who is super relaxed, just browsing the web. And on the right side, you can see a person who's trying to make a deadline and is super stressed. Now, from the egocentric perspective, as you can see, now there is not much difference to see, right? You cannot really tell is that person stressed or not. And as a first step to basically help us detect such differences in a person's affective state, we started with a project called EgoPPG. And we define EgoPPG as a task of only having the eye tracking images, which you can see on the bottom right from the project ARIA Gen 1 glasses, then try to reconstruct the blood volume pulse, which you get from the nose PPG sensor, only from the video data. So as the blue, you can see our estimated blood volume pulse, and as the orange, you can see the ground truth from the nose PPG sensor. So there's no need for any additional sensors. And the main idea is quite simple. So we have an eye tracking image, and from the eye tracking image, we try to detect subtle changes in the color intensity, which happen when the blood flows into the skin. What makes this is inspired by something called RPPG. What makes this quite challenging now in these glasses is that we have a lot of natural eye movement, as you can see it here, from blinking or when you look to the left or to the right. And additionally, as ARIA glasses are worn by the user, when you walk upstairs, for example, or you shake your head rapidly, you get a lot of motion artifacts into these glasses. So to evaluate the feasibility of EgoPPG, we first designed our own data capture apparatus, where we used the eye tracking cameras from the ARIA Gen 1 glasses. And then because the Gen 1 glasses didn't have a PPG sensor, we added our own onto the nosepad, very similar to the ARIA Gen 2 glasses now. We then went on to record our own data set, which has a lot of everyday activities, such as, for example, the exercise bike to also have very high heart rates, but then also tasks which are reflected in large-scale data sets such as EgoExo40 and Namaria, such as kitchen work, and office work, so you can actually have a lot of natural activities that actually happen throughout the day. And then, of course, also walking upstairs, so to also get these kind of varieties in the natural motion. Overall, we recorded 25 participants with over 13 hours of recording, where we had a wide variety of different motion and also heart rate variation, which is important to evaluate how good our algorithm generalizes. So you can see our heart rate actually varies between 44 and 166 beats per minute. So it's quite a big variation between heart rates. To then estimate the heart rate from these eye tracking images, we developed a method called PulseFormer. So what it basically does, it takes the eye tracking images and the IMU from the area as an input, and then it uses a cross-attention algorithm to basically calculate which frames to put weight on and which frames to put less weight on based on the IMU. So when you have a lot of weight, a lot of motion, you try to ignore these frames. You then put these frames into a 3D convolutional network, which is quite simple. And then what was quite important, what we found was adding these spatial attention layers between each of these convolutional layers. And what this allows us to do in the network to learn is to create these spatial attention maps, which you can see on the right. So blue means basically a value of 0, and 1 means it's yellow. So it basically learns to ignore the motion of the eyes, which cause a lot of motion artifacts, and just to use the skin around the eyes, which have a lot less motion. In the end, what we then obtain is an estimate of the blood volume pulse, which you can see on the right, from which we can then simply calculate the heart rate by doing a peak detection. Using this PulseFormer algorithm, what we obtain is a mean absolute error of 7.7 beats per minute across the whole 35 minutes per participant recordings, and a correlation of 0.85, which is quite high given that we have a high variety in motion and heart rate variation. Also speed-wise, what's quite nice is that this runs in real time. So we have almost 3K FPS on a GPU and almost 200 FPS on a normal laptop CPU. So it's definitely no problem to run these in real time, for example, on a laptop. Now, with the PPG sensor introduced in the Array Gen 2 glasses, of course you might wonder, A, do we need to re-record all of those data that we actually already recorded? And B, what's actually the benefit of obtaining these heart rate estimations from basically eye tracking cameras? And we asked the same thing, and to evaluate that, we basically took the Egocentric data set, and we used our pre-trained model, which we trained on our own data set, and then predicted the continuous heart rate, which you can see here, for all of these 2,000 to 3,000 videos on the Egocentric data set. And we were then able to show the downstream benefit of these heart rate estimations by adding the heart rate to the proficiency estimation task and improving this task, the accuracy, by 14%. For those of you who are not familiar with it, the proficiency estimation task, what it basically does, it tries to estimate if a person is a beginner, intermediate, or expert in whatever they do. So it can be playing basketball, but it can also be, for example, somebody's cooking. And we can actually say that this heart rate information helps to determine a user's proficiency. And this validated to us that our method produced not just information that is nice to have, but it actually helps in the downstream task for egocentric vision tasks. If you're interested in more of this, I'll present this tomorrow at a poster session from 3 to 5 p.m. So feel free to come by or check out our project page if you have more questions. We'll also release the full data set and our model and the argumentations for all of these thousands of video from the Egocentric data set. So just go onto our website and everything is available now already. Now, estimating heart rate is comparably a simple task. The next step now is towards understanding a person's rich inner life is to actually understand and predict a person's emotions. Because emotions, they often align with task performance, success, and failure. So they have a lot of downstream tasks in our everyday life. And to represent emotions and personalities, there's different approaches that you can use. Some of the most commonly used are affect, discrete emotions, and personality. Affect is a continuous scale, so it simply rates as an emotion positive or negative, and how intense is that emotion. For the discrete emotions, we use the Mikhail's wheel, which basically defines 8 different emotions, such as fear and joy, like very profound emotions that everybody experiences, and that personality scale are from 1 to 5 for different attributes of your personality. To obtain these, there's quite standardized questionnaires from psychological research. This is just one example. So you basically, after each task that you do, give a score for each of these emotions, how you felt. We then designed a couple of interventions to basically elicit distinct emotions in participants during our study. And here I'll show you some examples. On the left side, you can see myself eating a jelly bean that tasted like rotten fish. And this was actually like really disgusting, and the intent was to get the emotion of disgust, which worked quite well. Then you can see a colleague who's telling jokes to the experimenter. And then a third participant who's playing Slender Man on a computer and is getting quite a lot of jump scares from playing this video game. So we could actually cause a lot of these emotions that we intended to cause. Overall, our study setup included the egocentric and eye tracking videos from the ARIA glasses, then these self-reports, which we got after each of these tasks from the participant. And then we also added quite a lot of physiological sensors, as related work has just shown that physiological sensors can help a lot to determine emotions. We had PPG sensor, breathing rate, and ECG attached to the body, and also EDA, which for those of you who are not familiar with it, it simply measures how much you sweat. And sweat is a very strong indicator of how feared you are, your sympathetic arousal. You can imagine if you're stressed, usually your hands start to get really sweaty, and this is a sign of when your EDA increases. We then had in our study 2 different sessions, so session A and B, where in session A, participants were just watching videos which would trigger distinct emotions, so that they didn't have any movements. It would be quite an easy setup. And in session B, they should do more naturalistic activities, which included playing games such as Jenga, telling jokes to the experimenter, but for example, also playing Flappy Bird, which makes you pretty angry if you play that. In total, we then obtained from 43 participants over 50 hours of recording, where we got in total 16 emotion ratings for the valence arousal dominance and the Mikkel's wheel of emotion. So after each of these tasks in each of these sessions, we obtained these ratings from the participants. The entire setup you can see here. So we had quite a lot of sensors attached, and this is important to remember. So as you can see, we had a breathing belt, the ECG belt, the EDA, all of these sensors attached, additionally to the egocentric glasses from the participants. And what we then did is we derived different features from these sensors. So from the ARIA glasses, I'm not going to go into details too much here, but we got the pupil size, calculate some Fisher faces, the gaze, micro-expressions from the eyes, and also the motion magnitude, so how much you shake your head, for example, which can also give you a clue, for example, when you're scared. Also for the physiological sensors, we recorded over 100 different features, which were all backed up by related work, just to also have a background from the psychological research of what worked well for emotion prediction. And then finally, what we did is we used once the features from the egocentric glasses and the features from the physiological sensors and feed them together into a prediction model that then predicts affect, emotion, and personality of a person. And we kept this quite simple. So this prediction model here, there are only very simple random forest classifier, SVM classifiers, so that we can actually also evaluate which features are important for the prediction of our model. And our results then revealed quite some insights. So for the continuous effect, both the egocentric features and the physiological features were significantly better than chance. And they were pretty much on par, so they achieved similar performance. However, very importantly, for the discrete emotions, we saw that egocentric and physiological signals were both better than chance, but the egocentric glasses, all these modalities were actually quite a lot better than using these physiological sensors. And this is, we think, a very important and interesting finding, because attaching all of these physiological sensors to the body is quite cumbersome. It takes a lot of time. You need to attach sensors to the skin of that person. Whereas the egocentric glasses, you just put them on and you can basically start recording or estimating a person's emotion, which makes it a lot easier. The personality did not work better than chance, but this is also kind of expected, as you can imagine from only 1 hour, 1.5 hour of recording, it's quite hard to estimate a person's personality. This project will appear in NERPS 2025 in December. We'll have the paper up in a couple of days, but we already have the data set and the code up. If you're interested, you can also check it out at our project site. At this point, also a big shout out to Matthias. He was one of our interns who I did this project together with. He did a great work in the data recording. So in summary, what we found is that you can actually monitor a person's cardiac activity only from the eye tracking cameras from the Project ARIA glasses without the need of these actual sensors that you attach to the nose. And while for the emotion prediction, we found that we can predict better than chance the emotions, it's still a long way to go for emotion prediction and especially personality prediction from wearable devices. However, what is a really interesting finding is that for distinct emotion prediction, we can actually exceed using physiological sensors when only using the Project Aria glasses. And we think this can have quite a lot of implications in the downstream for like AR/VR interfaces, and also, of course, human-AI interactions. So if you can imagine the Meta Ray-Bans, for example, when you have an LLM talking to you, they can benefit quite a bit when they can actually estimate your emotions and what you feel, because they can better respond to your needs that you actually have that you cannot see from the outside. And then, of course, also health and well-being purposes. So you don't need to wear any wearables extra. You basically only need to wear your glasses, and you can already estimate your heart rate or also maybe your blood pressure in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you're interested in the code data set and paper of all of these projects, feel free to scan the QR code. Everything should be up there. Thank you very much.